Guys, and let's have this conversation quickly. I'm just confused. Why would you buy beauty products from Shein? Why? Like what would be the reason why you would buy beauty products from Shein? Obviously, I can't speak for every country, but I can only think of the two countries I've lived in. I've lived in Nigeria where there are certain parts of Nigeria where people have money, so they just don't use any beauty products. So that's one side of the conversation. Then I've lived in a Western country like England, where I live now, where things are affordable. Like, you can't say there are things where you go into Boots and beauty products are on sale and things are actually affordable. Like, you can't tell me that there aren't beauty products that adhere to standards that aren't affordable. That just is not something I'm going to agree with, especially not in the UK. So what would be the reason that would move people to buying beauty products that are clearly unsafe and don't have the same level of regulation and scrutiny, on platforms like TEMU? I don't understand. I'm really trying to understand why anyone would buy beauty products on a place like that. Do you not care about your skin? Do you not care about your, like, well-being? Someone said some people don't think besides associated dollar value. Damn. Like, why would you do that? Let's see. It's so cheap. It's probably got to do with overconsumption. Young people don't have much money to spend, especially as high schoolers, yet beauty is such a popular trend / market for them. Yeah, maybe I'm just like, when I was growing up, how I was raised was, if I can't afford something that's safe, then I just won't buy it and go without it. So if I can't afford, I'm trying to think of the kind of thing that I wanted to buy when I was younger, like beauty products. Like, if I couldn't afford certain, like, creams I wanted, like face cream or like facial wash, I'll just go without it and then buy something that's more affordable, like some Neutrogena like face wash that was like £2 at the time or something like that. So is it that they can't afford anything? Because if you think, if someone in high school buys 5 Shein dresses that come to the price of $10, instead of buying 5 dresses, they could have gone to a second-hand shop and bought one dress for the $10 instead. That is actually made well and isn't toxic to the skin and all those things. But the only thing is that they will just have one dress instead of 5, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there is absolutely no issue with wearing one thing over and over again. If anything, that's the best thing, especially for the environment. I think it's actually insane that in society we shame people for wearing things multiple times. We shame people for always wearing the same thing. That's why I make it a point for me to wear this zip up jumper that I wear in almost every stream. I make it a point. So I think it's partially a cultural problem, because a lot of these kids in school will probably be shamed for wearing the same thing. So that's a culture that we need to weed out of our society. This whole, like Elliot saying, I hate people who call out outfit repeaters. It's such a stupid thing to do, right? Haha, you repeat your outfits. Like, there's nothing wrong with wearing the same thing, guys. If there's anything you take away from this stream, is that it's okay to wear your favorite garments over and over again. So why I'm bringing that point up is it an affordability thing or is it a cultural issue? Because if you can afford 5 dresses for $10, you can afford one dress for $10. So then you can afford it. It's just culture. The reason why you're buying all those dresses is because you want to wear something different every day, and you're going to throw out those garments once you're done with them, because a lot of them won't be usable after one wash. Because I always, especially because these conversations, we have them around, especially the US and consumers in the US, because the US is a big market. Like the UK, do you know how tiny the UK is? The UK, I don't think, is even as big as California, the whole of the UK. So we are very insignificant when we talk about markets. That's why we always have to talk about the US and like massive markets like that. And if we think of the US, is it really an affordability conversation? Really? Is it? Someone is saying it's cultural, it's really heavy in America. Even the quality of Jordans aren't the same from the past, but yet everyone buys. Yeah, it could be a cultural issue. I think it's more cultural, especially in the regions that I talk about, Western regions. Sag says it is diffusion of responsibility. People think it is other person's responsibility. Most people don't think beyond I am tired, hungry, happy, sad. Let's see, affordability is somewhat of the conversation in an overconsumption landscape. It's also an advertising and marketing conversation around convenience. These compound in a massive way. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I met someone totally psychotic as a kid who would harass us about repeating outfits, and it stuck with me for a long time. And now with all the cameras everywhere, people are even more out of touch. Yeah, I could care less about someone trying to shame me about wearing things over and over again. Like if someone's like, you're wearing, I'll be okay. But I can understand like how it can be hard growing up in that kind of environment where there are people constantly shaming you for wearing the same thing over and over again. So I think we collectively need to change the culture around the way we view consumption and the conversations we have around overconsumption. But it's hard, right? Because for every channel like mine that always scrutinizes these things, you will have 100 influencers who just mindlessly promote every single product under the sun because they are always trying to sell clothing and they're always trying to make money. So any brand that pays them to promote things, they're just like, this brand is paying me 10K to promote the clothing, so I'm just going to take it because money. Like a lot of influencers don't have any moral compass. So they will push and promote any brand that pays them and they don't scrutinize anything. So it's very hard culturally to change people's perceptions when most young people follow influencers that overconsume and they promote a level of overconsumption that is actually scary. But I hope with time it changes, hopefully. Someone said, one second, let me see. People are still having a conversation if it's cultural versus affordability. Because if we had the affordability conversation in like my home country of Nigeria, then I'll be like, yes. In Nigeria, there are people that are living in a level of poverty that like, they actually can't afford it, which is why they just don't use beauty products. Right? And the craziest thing about my home country, especially when I was in the village, that I realized is a lot of people that don't use any of these products actually have better skin. So I had been using all these creams and products and all these things, and I go to my village and everyone has flawless skin and they don't use any cosmetics like at all. But it could be many different factors. It could be the food that they eat. A lot of these people grow their own food, and so all the food that they eat technically is organic. And so their diets, because I think a lot of your health is tied to the things that you put in your body, like the things you eat, more so than any external things like the drugs that you take and stuff. So them having such a healthy diet, eating things that they grow is probably a bigger indicator for why their skin is so good rather than what we do in the West, where we slather all these products on our faces and our skin, but then we eat terrible food. And so that's why we have all these like health issues. So that's another thing. Because yes, there are some people that maybe they can't afford certain levels of makeup, but the alternative is just wearing no makeup. Like no one is holding a gun to your head saying you must wear makeup or you die, right? No one is saying you have to use this facial serum or you will faint. If you are not using retinol, we will arrest you. So you don't have to, you actually have the choice of just not even opting into any of these things, right? If it was a necessity like food, that's a whole different conversation, right? People can't starve. You can survive without using makeup. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club, where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.